including technology, higher education, government, both domestically and internationally. Not only that, Williams led the We Are Done Dying campaign, which shed light on inequalities inherent in the US healthcare system, while its interactive content offered concrete steps to demand action from state officials. He was also responsible for Hey Black America, a television series created by the NAACP and the TV One that explored how protests can be bases for advances in education, housing, and democracy. His hashtag, which is my favorite hashtag, and I told him he has to do shirts and a hat, is Shake Tables, and he is about to do just that. Welcome to the stage, my friend Trovon Williams.
You. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, dreamers. Give it up for yourself. Give it up for yourself. Give it up for yourself. Gilda was nice to me. I probably paid her not to say some of the other stuff she wanted to say in the opening there. It's very, very good to be here. Gilda stole some of my credit because I wanted to, I'm a church boy, right? I'm a church boy. So I like to give honor to where honor is due. And the reality is that we're not sitting in rooms like this without dreamers like Tiffany Spencer. So we honor you again. We thank you again. We appreciate you so much. Carter got me right. I'm ready to go now, Carter. I'm ready to go. That affirmation did me a solid. It's really good to be here this morning. I was telling, I got in late Tuesday night, and it dawned on me when we pulled up where I was at, because some maybe 14 years ago, I ran my first conference here. I was working for Iridium Communications, and I ran our first Iridium Partner Conference right here at this hotel. It's the first one that I ever ran, and I sent a video to my old boss then, and said, I was like, this is nostalgic. Now, obviously, it don't look like it looked right now, because it's 14 years ago, but it looked incredible, and it took me down an interesting path of sort of nostalgia, thinking about how we get to where we are, points of origins, if you will, right? I started to think about how I got into marketing communications holistically. I remember when I got my first job in my career. Some of us got jobs on our LinkedIn, you know, it stops at that one we don't want nobody to know about. Y'all got that one? It's like, and you don't need to know past here. Yeah, all of us got a couple of those, right? But I was thinking back, and but when I got my first job in my career, I was working. I was account executive before I got my real job. Account executive doing transitional automotive care. I was working at a rental car place, y'all. I mean, come on, like that's the one that's not on LinkedIn profile. You ain't gonna get that one. I was working at Hertz, because I had to get a job after college. So, you know, I was doing all these wonderful things. I had all this ambition, and I was working at Hertz because I got to pay bills. I got to pay bills in the meantime. And I got called by Julia Wilton, who was working at a small, if you guys can remember this, small international SIM company. Think about how long ago that feels, right? You just got to pop your SIM out of your phone and put it in when you go. Yeah, I was working in one of those. But she called me when I was leaving my very, very busy day. Very, 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 very busy day at Hertz. And she said, could you want to come in for an interview? But when she called me, what came to mind is she said, hi, can I speak to Charles Williams? And I was like, Charles Williams? Who's she thinking about? It dawned on me in a minute that after all my successes in college, after going to historically black college and university, going to Hampton University, after spending 4 years cultivating, learning about myself, being emboldened in myself, it dawned on me that after I had graduated, walked across the stage, got everything I said I wanted, that when the moment came for me to start looking for applications and looking for jobs, I realized in that moment when she called, she wasn't calling Charles Williams, who's my father, she was calling me. But why was she calling me Charles Williams? She was calling me Charles Williams because on my applications and on my resumes, I put T. Charles Williams. All my successes, all that HBCU love, all the historically black, all that unapologetically black, I'm gonna be authentic to myself. And subconsciously, when it came time to start looking for employment, I put T. Charles Williams. Why did I put T. Charles Williams? Because many of you all sitting in this room know exactly what it feels like to be in spaces and feel like maybe Trovon won't get the call back. Subconsciously, didn't even think about it when I did it, but I wanted to improve my opportunity. Nobody had ever called me Charles a day in my life. No, if you would have called somebody and said Charles, they look at you and say, "Who are you?" That's Trovon. That's who that is. Never been called Charles a day in my life. But yet, when the moment came, the most nostalgic moment, the moment that should have mattered the most, I shrunk and became a marginalized version of who I was supposed to be. Why did I become a marginalized version because of who I was supposed to be? Because society, in some way, shape, or form, had taught many of us that who you were wasn't sufficient. It had taught you in some respects that the realities of this life is that you had to modify who you were in order to get through the doors. And then maybe on the other side of the door, you could start familiarizing yourself. You could introduce somebody to yourself. But the unfortunate circumstances for many of us in these cases is that we shrink ourselves. We take pieces off ourselves. We craft ourselves into a fashion that is more assimilating for somebody else. And then before we know it, we don't recognize ourselves anymore. I don't look like who I'm intended to be, but we're going to shake the tables today. We're going to modify that thought process because who you are and who you've been has always been sufficient. Who you are authentically, your background, in every capacity of who you are is what brought you to this moment. No modifying chapters, no director's cuts. The authentic version of who you are is the version the world has been waiting for a very long time. And today we're going to pronounce it again. We're going to say it the way it should have been said from the beginning. We're going to introduce ourselves, our ingenuities, our thought process, our authentic selves in these moments. We're going to introduce that stuff. Why? Because the world has been robbed of your collective brilliance because you marginalize yourself. I thought about this as well because I used to, some of y'all still use Microsoft Word. Some of y'all, y'all a little advanced. Some of y'all still might use Microsoft Word. But I used to do this, right? I would be typing in my name. I would type my name into, writing up reports or stuff like that. Or any of y'all got one of them names that's not already in Microsoft Word? Okay, it's not just, okay, I feel good now. I'm amongst friends. I feel good. Got one of those names that's not already in there. So I used to be typing up reports or doing things like that. And you get to words that are not already within Microsoft Word or any platform for that matter. And you get that red line underneath of it. It's like, that can't be right. Surely you made a mistake. Trovon, knock it off. That's not real. But over time, you get to a process where I'll fix it later. I'll just get to fixing it later. I'll adjust it as I go. It dawned on me one day I was writing, I think like this sometimes, I was writing a really, really long report, and I was writing in my name, and then it adds that when you click on the name, it asks you, is this an error, or would you like to add it to the dictionary? You know why you add it to the dictionary? Because once you've added it, never have to change it again. Trovon is now a part of the system now. And many of you all have been allowing yourself to course correct, make the adjustment, modify on the back end. But it's really time for you to just add yourself to the platform. Add yourself to the point that it matters in a way that it will not be corrected again. We've all been in spaces like that. How do I be my authentic self? How do I deal with being culturally relevant, but then also not making people uncomfortable in some of these spaces that you're in? Ain't nobody telling y'all to go in there and kick no doors in and tell them, this is me. But there is a way to show up as an authentic version of yourself so that the world does not marginalize you along the way. That same boss that hired me at WorldCell, I had an opportunity to work for her 2 places over my career. Italian-Canadian woman that hired me. She wanted Trovon. She didn't, I corrected her down the line that my name is Trovon. But she hired me, and I remember sitting in a meeting with her. And I was young. I'd only been working there for maybe a year and a half. And I used to sit in the back in the corner and I would write notes, be looking at them like, that's not going to make any sense. Just write all these notes down. But I wouldn't say anything in the meetings. Be quiet in the meetings. And then as soon as the meetings were over, I would go back to her office and be like, well, this is what I think we should be doing. Because listen, like this person didn't make any sense and that product marketing plan, that's not going to work at all. And if you're trying to meet this target, and one day, she had listened to me do this over and over and over again. And one day she stopped me, and I don't curse, I'm a church boy, I don't curse, but she was like, then why don't you say something? And I sat there, I was like, oh, I can, why don't you just say something? Why aren't you saying anything? What are you robbing your organizations of? What brilliance is stuck in your mind that you haven't opened your mouth? Why don't you just say something? Yeah, we've been taught so long that, what do I do with the rejection? But there's no brilliance that's been birthed that didn't have rejection tied to it. I work for the preeminent civil rights organization in the nation. The NAACP or NAACP. Don't tell my boss I said NAACP. We don't do that no more. The preeminent 115 years of standing in the gap, 115 years of fighting on behalf of black communities. And guess what? Even we had to evolve. Even we had to look in the mirror and say, we can do this better than we've done it before. I can change how I've done this before. I walked in the door 5 years ago, and 5 years ago, I'd come from technology and come from a background where it's fast paced. It's stock prices attached to what we're doing in the marketing standpoint. So we don't get to just kind of like, oh, we'll get it right next time. No, you better get it right now. Usually somebody's bonus is attached to you getting it right. So you're going to get it right today, not tomorrow, today. I came from a faster pace. Going into the nonprofit space, a little different, a little slower. This is the way we've always done it. Oh, okay. Lucky for you, I'm here, because that's not how we about to do it today. This is how we've always done it. Well, it didn't work this time. And the unfortunate circumstances that took place over the last few years forced us. We were in a pandemic, which means that, 2 million members across the country. I didn't have the ability of mobilizing and saying, boots on the ground, 2,200 units across the country in 48 states. We're about to take to the street. No, you stay home. It's COVID. Don't go outside and put your mask back on when you're talking to me, because we ain't doing that either. So how do I reimagine my voice in a climate where I've built myself off of going outside, showing people in a certain capacity? I've only ever done it one way. I had to reimagine how impact was felt as an organization. So digital became a key tool. And in some respects, our leadership had to say, look, we ain't got no choice but to trust you now. We can't use what we've always done. We can't do it the way we've always done it. What we started doing? Started utilizing our social media in a more aggressive capacity. Started doing videos similar to what you all saw in these moments. Why? Because, the age has changed now. People ain't sitting in front of the email like they used to. Yeah, you need to still do it. You need to still execute it. But the period of time, people's attention span is it's like that. So you better get to the point very quickly as to what you're trying to say. I had to reimagine, even for 115 years, with all that time, all that investment, I had to do it differently than I've always done it. There are things within your lives, within your community, within your spaces, within your organizations that you just have to do differently now. You have to do differently now. And the reality is for many of you all, the world is waiting for you to just say something. Just offer something. Not something because it's going to be perfect, not offering something because you're going to get it right, offering something because sometimes people need something to ideate over. They need something to react to. In many cases, as a culture, we don't speak on behalf of what it is that we're enduring. We don't speak to our backgrounds. We don't speak to where we come from because we feel like, well, no one's really trying to hear that. I beg to differ. In fact, over the last 4 years in particular, what I've learned working with organizations is in most cases, y'all, they just don't know what to do. They just don't know what to do. It's easy to come into the space and be like, that's another bad one. That's a racist organization. That's a discriminatory organization. Yeah, don't get it twisted. That exists too. That's real. And my job, and I tell y'all, my team will tell you this, and I like picking fights. I like the ones I can go after who really have gotten it wrong. No question about it. So if you get it wrong, I'm coming for you. No question about it. That's a part of the job. But in all cases, that's not the testimony. Some people, they just don't know what to do. And so you're sitting back with great ideas about how to cultivate culture within your space. You're sitting back with thoughts around how we can improve processes and different things of that sort. And someone's just literally waiting for you to offer something. We have to get past this point of rejection. I've sat on calls many a time because most times by the time it gets to my team, somebody's had 4 or 5 conversations. They're really excited about the conversation they had. And they're like, great, I'm going to send you over to marketing and communications. You guys are going to talk through your next steps. And it's like, great. And I like to play a game. I'll send my team. I was like, let me see how much I can get away with on this call. Just throw some stuff out there and see what it is. Like, it'd be really cool if we did, if you all, we did a digital seminar with you all over the next 6 months and, we'll help build out the content. And they were like, okay. And I'm like, oh, and you all have a program going on. I'd like to send 2 of my members to your program to do X, Y, and Z. And they're like, oh, okay, sure. I was like, let's see how long Trovon can pull this off. Like, this is getting good to me. But what in reality, what came to mind is that in many cases, definitely when the D&I space or with people trying to cultivate, they just don't know. No one's ever presented an idea that someone had to adjust to, feel about. So what are you doing in your spaces that hasn't been done yet? What are you offering in your spaces? Spaces like this are rare, you all. They're rare. I travel all across this country. I don't travel like Gilda travel. She got all the passport stamps in hers. I'm domestic is what I got going on, domestic. I can hit all the states, you know what I mean? But international, not so much. But I've been all over the country. It's very few times that you walk in a room and it looks like this. Now you can come to the NAACP National Convention in Las Vegas in July. That's my plug. That's the only one I have. I'm sorry. But rooms don't look like this very often. Don't come into spaces like this. Go take your pictures in front of step and repeats. Eat your breakfast and walk out of here and have not added to the dream. You want me to say it again? I'll say it again. Don't walk into spaces like this. Get all this excellence, all this brilliance sitting around you and say, man, I was in the room. Anybody, I'm a sidebar real quick. Any of y'all watch Kendrick Lamar last night? Any of y'all? It's crazy, right? It was pretty exciting. I was watching it last night, and what was cool about the moment, Kendrick Lamar had a concert in Inglewood last night. It was insane. Go back and watch on Amazon Prime. It's exciting stuff. But he was watching a concert, and while I was watching the concert, he pulled up all of these different people from all these different backgrounds. Compton was on stage, and downtown Los Angeles, and he had Bloods and Crips and Power. He had everybody on stage, and he took this really, really meaningful picture. Actually, he had one of my classmates I went to Hampton with was on the stage with him. I was like, what is Jay doing on stage? Like, how did he do that? Throwing up what song? Like, dang, how did he get on stage with Kendrick? That's crazy. But he sat on the stage, and he took this picture with all this brilliance, all this background, all these origins. You got people with Crip stories and blood stories and all that other stuff. Ain't nobody celebrating gangs and stuff like that. But I wanted to understand the origins of this was there were so many different stories all within one space. And he took this really, really impactful picture. Why? Because it was important for them to capture the moment that this don't happen every day. Things like this don't happen every day, y'all. You go back into your day-to-day operation. You go back into your normal space. And what you gonna do? You gonna wait for another Dreamin' in Color to do this again? All this collective brilliance sitting in a room, all these different backgrounds that you can pull from, and you gonna wait till Tiffany plans the next one? Who are you robbing within your organization? Who's coming behind you that hasn't seen what it is that you have to offer? What haven't you paid yet for somebody else because you're waiting for somebody else to plan it? No. It's time for you to start putting all these ideas together yourself. It's time for you to start building this collective power within your own spaces, within your own community. Somebody's waiting for you to start dreaming. And start dreaming out loud. Because we got a lot of ideas out here. I've been there too. I'll be sitting there working on something. I'm like, what if I did? Nah. That's crazy. That's crazy. What about with all this amazing, unfortunate circumstances taking place, when the Black communities are being marginalized, where pandemics are disproportionately impacted people of color? What if I put out a statement that said, we are done dying? No, I can't say stuff like that. But what if I do? What if I can bring attention to something that in most cases we all speak about in quiet, but we don't actually say it out loud? Sometimes the unfortunate circumstances that you're dealing with is going to force you to take those ideas that are in the back of your head and say, I got an idea and I'm going to put it on the table. When we put out We Are Done Dying a few years ago, I was scared to death. I was like, ooh, told my wife, I was like, I had to start looking for another job here in a minute. I don't know how this one gonna go. But I made a profound statement. We are done dying. What does that mean? It means that we're not going to take what's happening to us lying down. We're not going to just do this the way we've always done it. I got to speak to injustices that are taking place across my community. And in some cases, I got to deal with you being uncomfortable as a part of it. Now, sometimes it's not as profound as what I just said. But sometimes it's literally speaking to the fact that, what you may be doing within your organization is not culturally conscious. And it's important for you to point that out in some spaces. And some of the best things you can do in some of these spaces is to pull your leadership to the side and say, hey, listen, I think we could probably do this differently. Yeah, because a lot of times it's easy for this, because we all guilty of this one. We go into the corner somewhere and be like, man, such and such don't know what they talking about. You see what he's talking about? He ain't doing nothing. Yeah, we say it in the corner. But who's benefiting from that? We sit in the meetings and people's talking about all these things they're trying to do, D&I and all this other stuff, and we looking across the room at our friend like, I ain't finna do none of this stuff. But when you gonna start helping, cultivating what you want to see? See, I learned something a long time ago. Watch this, y'all. Look up. Y'all hear that? Yeah, we looking for superheroes and you're the ones wearing the capes. Ain't nobody coming to save you. Oh, that's daunting. If I was at church, you'd say, nobody like that kind of preaching. Would you keep looking for somebody to come save them when you're the heroes? You're the wisdom you've been looking for. You're the salvation that you've been looking for. You're the cultivators. You're the agitators. You're the one wearing the cape. So nobody's coming until you start doing it. It's going to take you. Y'all paying attention over the last few years? Y'all feel good about the Supreme Court right now? Anybody live in Florida? Yikes. Yikes. Whoo, y'all got one down there, boy. Yeah, NAACP is a nonpartisan organization, but that one, boy. There's somebody that literally said that, we're going to be the woke Harvard of the South. I don't even know what that means. Like, is that something you should be proud of? I don't know what that means. So do you feel like organizations, institutions, governments themselves are actually advocating on behalf of your community effectively? Nothing changes in this country until you change it yourself. Nothing's offered or altered based on someone feeling like, you know what, I would love to do something good for the Latino community this week. That's not how it works. All of these things are leveraged based off of your ability to cultivate change within your own space, starting with the idea itself. So no one's coming to save you when you're wearing the capes. My boss, Abba Blankson, is the chief marketing officer with the NAACP. She's from Ghana. And a few years ago, she had an opportunity to go to NASDAQ. She was delivering a best practices to NASDAQ. And what was really cool is, you all ever seen this in New York? Sometimes when you do big presentations there, it's like, we like to welcome you, and they put you on the side of the building. It's incredible. But they say, we like to welcome Abba Blankson, Chief Marketing Officer at NAACP, and it's on the side of downtown New York. It's crazy. This Ghanaian woman is on the side of a billboard. And she sent me the picture. I was like, boss lady, this is incredible. This is insane. Are you kidding me? And you know what she sent me? In all vulnerability, she said, Trovon, I'm scared. Are you scared? Scared of what? She was like, I'm out front now. I'm on display now. I gotta show up now. I didn't have a lot of words because I hadn't been in that space yet. I ain't been on the side of nobody's billboard. I don't know what that feels like. But it's amazing how the right words come to mind in moments like this. And you know what I told her? I said, Abba, giants can't shrink. Giants can't shrink. Your culture is too important to keep trying to suppress it down. You know why it feels uncomfortable? Because you're trying to take your origins and your ideas and your brilliance, you're trying to package it down. You're trying to craft it into boxes and put it into spaces that it was never intended to be withheld. It feels uncomfortable because they're big ideas with big ambitions, with big accountabilities and big responsibilities attached to them. So that means that it's never going to feel comfortable until it's allowed to stretch a little bit and be as large as it's supposed to be. Giants can't shrink. Your ideas, your concepts, your collective brilliance is too small to put into little boxes anymore. So what do you need? You got to hang out with more giants. You got to be with more people who think like you think. You got to be around more people that you can help pull along the lines. Like, no, we're not doing that like this anymore. You got to hold yourself accountable enough to say, I'm not just going to be a part of the complaint, but I'm going to be a part of the solution in these spaces. And it starts with spaces just like this. Rooms like this, where you can look across the table and say, are you all in on this with me? Are we going to do this together? Are we going to take the bumps together? Because there's going to be setbacks. That's real. But no more sitting on the sideline. No more waiting for it to come. No more waiting for somebody to do it for you. I'll leave you all with this, and then I get out your way. You can have your coffee. Whenever my team has had ideas about stuff over the last 5 years, just celebrated my 5th year at the NAACP in June, beginning of June. Whenever they have great ideas about things, I tell them, we got to bake the cake first before we start putting icing and stuff on it. I also use this analogy with my kids. I say, do what you gotta do so you can do what you wanna do. Do what you gotta do so you can do what you wanna do. Why? Because if I take care of the fundamentals, the foundation, the principles, the things that are under my job responsibilities, the things that I'm getting my performance reviews based off of. Because a lot of people try to get credit for some stuff they ain't supposed to be doing no way. I got people on my team talking about something. I was on Capitol Hill and I got to talk to X, Y, and Z. Like, great. But about that email you supposed to send yesterday. Because I'm not giving extra credit for that. That's your job. This is something you just want to do what you got to do so you can do what you want to do. Be brilliant in the spaces that you're intended to be brilliant in. Be excellent in the thing that you're paid to do. You know what that enables you to do? It builds equity within spaces. Makes you a trusted advocate in these spaces so that when it's time to say, I have an idea about something, you can't question what Gilda's talking about because Gilda's been killing all the other stuff that she's been doing so that when it's time to ask for a new idea, well, I can trust her because she took care of what she's supposed to take care of. When I came to the association and we saw the unfortunate events that took place on January 6th, the most powerful moment for me was sitting on a virtual Zoom call, president of the NAACP, chairman of the NAACP, virtual war room, if you will, all sitting on a Zoom platform. And the president of the NAACP says, Trovon, you got the helm. What do you want us to do? Because we couldn't mobilize, we couldn't go outside. And I had to orchestrate how we showed up in a moment. But it wasn't because President Johnson didn't have any ideas. He's a brilliant man, he's a visionary. It's because I built enough trust over the last 3 or 4 years prior to that when the moment came and they needed the idea, it's your turn. What you got? What do you want us to do? There's a world waiting for you to tell them what we're gonna do next. What's our next move? I'll leave you with this. I don't know how many religious folks in here. I'm a preacher's kid, so apologies. My favorite scripture is a scripture in 1 Samuel says, for the earnest expectation of the creature waited for the manifestation of the sons of God. You know what that means? It means the world is literally waiting for you to become. The world is literally waiting for you to be exactly who you're supposed to be. So why would you rob the world of something it's waiting for? Why would you rob us of the opportunity of your collective brilliance? Because there's a world waiting for you. There's a problem in the earth that your culture, your background is the only one equipped to solve it. It's time to become exactly who you're supposed to be. It's time for you to dream out loud. And it's time for you to use spaces just like this to cultivate, to build, to grow, and to take platforms like Dreamin In Color to levels unknown. I want to hear the collective stories about how you all have built together. I want to be able to use case studies and moments like this because no one's controlling our narrative but us, right? You're in charge of it. Don't let somebody else write your story. Oh, what a terrible story. They left out so many important details of how you got here. People see this today, they don't know the backstory. And the backstory is what a lot of people, what's what makes the story interesting. Nobody wants to hear in the beginning they live happily ever after. No, it's all the other stuff in between that makes it interesting, right? That's why y'all hung up on Bridgerton right now. It's the plot twist. Man, my wife gave me the Heisman. She was like, be quiet. Shonda is talking. It is serious, right? It's very serious. Man, it's pretty serious stuff. Listen, I hope that you all, if nothing else, when you walk away from here, understand that the nucleus of what you're trying to cultivate is sitting in rooms just like this. It's going to happen in small, because minor moves are what start major movements. It starts in small spaces. It starts in small, humble beginnings just like this. But man, what a tremendous story it's going to become when you start dreaming out loud. Enjoy this week. Enjoy the festivities. Enjoy the collective brilliance sitting in this room. And I look forward to hearing how your dreams came to life. Thank you all so much for the opportunity. Appreciate you all. Thank you.
Let's get on your feet, everybody, and say thank you. Trovon, we appreciate you. That was a great opening for today. We are done for this morning. And so I want to say thank all of you for being here. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Please make sure you stop by all the sponsor booths because they chose to be here. I want you to understand that. The sponsors that are here chose to be here because there are other companies that are not here. So please, just saying. So we show our appreciation by talking to them, finding out about their services, and they are hiring. And so Trovon has given you and told you have everything that you need to be able to get the job that you want. So please go do that. And we will see you all throughout the day. Remember, lunch is on your own. Look for announcements in the app because all of the details are in the app. And so I'll see you all later. Have a good morning.